Good morning. Welcome to Day 2, June 23rd, 2022, California Department of Education Advisory Commission on Special Education meeting. Michelle, please facilitate a roll call to establish a quorum.
My pleasure, Chair Hayes White. Good morning, Commissioners. As I call your name, please unmute yourself and verify your presence. Vice Chair Adler?
Here.
Commissioner Gill?
Here.
Chair Hayes White?
I'm here.
Commissioner Lopez?
Here.
Commissioner Ruiz?
Here.
Commissioner Snipes?
Here.
Commissioner Sorter?
Here.
Commissioner Topalian?
Here.
And that concludes our roll call. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. I hereby call the June 23rd, 2022 meeting of the Advisory Commission on Special Education to order at 10:01 a.m. Commissioner Snipes, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I do not have any announcements today, so we're going to move right on into the review of the agenda and public comments. Vice Chair Adler, please review the agenda and review the guidelines for providing public comments in person and via telephone.
Okay, thank you. I will do so. So we will begin today with a work group on key documents from 10:15 to 11:15. We'll take a short break, then resume our work group with session 2 from 11:30 to 12:30, followed by a report out on the progress of the work groups. Then we will have a lunch break, I believe, from 1 to 2. Thank you. Followed by ACSE agenda building at 2 p.m. and general public comment at 2:15, and followed by adjournment of this meeting at 2:30. Michelle, would you please review the public comment directions?
My pleasure, Vice Chair Adler. The public can make comments after each item when the chair calls for public comment in person or by dialing into the number on the screen. I'll read that number now. It is area code 667-770-1381. After dialing in, you'll be asked for a participant access code, which is 433-7117. We do ask that the public make sure they turn their speakers off on their computers or webcast so that it's muted to avoid feedback sounds during the call. We also ask those calling in to make public comment to state their name and any affiliations prior to making comment. You will have 2 minutes for public comment.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, we're going to move right into item number 8, Commission Key Document Work Groups. Commissioners, we have planned an exciting work group activity for you. Here is the ebb and flow for the day. We are going to address 2 topics. Topic number 1, strategic plan and legislative platform. Topic number 2, ACSE 2021-2022 annual report. The editor of our annual report, Mary Grady, who has served in this role for over 20 years, will share historical context for both topic number 1 and topic number 2. When Mary is done, I will further explain work group logistics and targeted outcomes. Editor Mary Grady, I now turn over the mic to you. Welcome.
Good morning, Madam's Chair, esteemed Executive Secretary, honorable commissioners, and guests. I need to find my document. I am a writer and a reader, not a public speaker. So if I don't have my document, I'm going to be pretty lost. And I'm not sure how to exit out of this. Michelle, do you know? And show?
Yes. I would just scan there and then just minimize it.
Oh, it's a Word doc that I'm looking for.
I would minimize the screen so you can.
Oh, there we go. Thank you. Nothing like a pregnant pause. So, again, I'm Mary Grady with the Supporting Inclusive Practices Project from the Riverside County Office of Education and also part of the statewide system of support. Context for your pillars, your legislative platform. I think those terms are sort of loosely interchanged, and I think it's important to remember that. They're the same thing. So where did this come from? As I understand it, it started, at least and in my experience, with the California statewide Task Force on Special Education. This was a group of educators who worked with private partners and people invested in education in California, in every best way invested, who got together and had many conversations about why outcomes for students with disabilities, particularly post-school outcomes, were not improving. All the money through IDEA, and things didn't seem to be getting all that much better, and they were just very curious about why. So they joined forces in 2013 to examine how schools could be better and how systems could be better to serve these students. This task force worked for 2 years, and in May of 2015, they issued the now seminal report, One System Reforming Education to Serve All Students. A key umbrella conclusion of that report was that in order to improve special education, general education needed to change and improve. This involved breaking down rigid silos, both of thinking and behaving and even funding, creating a system that was integrated, coherent, and collaborative, truly one system of education where students with disabilities were considered to be general education students first. So the specific recommendations that were part of that task force report included such areas as improving and expanding early childhood programs, rethinking teacher preparation requirements, authentically engaging parents in schools, and more. I'm sure you've all seen the report. When these recommendations were issued, the body that you are currently serving on, these members wanted to be part of that effort, part of sort of reifying, if you will, that long vision of creating one unified system. And they landed on the elements of your platform. They wanted to be sure that they spoke and worked as a commission with a consistent voice, whether they're talking to school administrators, state legislators, teachers, or anyone. This was a set of operating principles. This was their language. This was their lens for viewing their own work and how they planned that work. So as a result, you'll see that the recommendations of the task force are echoed in your platform through identifying the importance of meaningful access to curriculum, the importance of well-prepared educators, the necessity of universal design for learning, the power of multi-tiered systems of support, particularly as that kind of coherent system strengthens early intervention efforts. the critical importance of families at centers of all school planning, and then the ultimate goal of public education, which is the successful transition of every student into adult life. What's truly exciting from my vantage point of 20 plus years is to see how many of those original recommendations from 2015 are being acted on in such powerful ways. As recorded in the other document you have in your packet, California's progress toward achieving one system, progress around early childhood programs, inclusion, teacher preparation, transition, family engagement, and more. So the platform was designed to serve as your guide, to support this larger work. And things change. Your first working session today will give you a chance to discuss your platform, perhaps get to know it better, think critically about it, even modify it. And then the broader purpose is for you to define your goals and vision for the coming year in relation to that platform that you secure after your session today. And then this is where your annual report comes in, because that then becomes the public record of that work and the vision that you're working to realize. So any questions at this point?
Commissioners, any questions for our fabulous editor?
So would you like me to move on, Chair Hayes-White, and talk about the annual report, or should I do that right before that working session?
Let's do it now.
So some of you know me as the editor of the Special Ed Newsletter. This is the publication of the Special Education Division, California Department of Education. And as Chair Hayes-White announced, I'm also the editor of your report. So with so many of you being new, with 2 years having passed since 2.5 years since I've been here, and with months passing between your meetings, it seemed to be a good opportunity to sort of review your reporting charges, which sort of can become faint with all the time in between. And also to give you an historical context for the report and the processes for developing, editing it, and publishing it. Many of you have probably read the language of the United States Code of Federal Regulations that outlines your reporting requirements. As they indicate, and as you probably know, you're an independent advisory body, and you're required by these regulations to report on your work at least annually. Lots of leeway for how that's done. Over the years, the physical report itself has changed in a number of ways. When I first started serving as the commission's editor, your annual report was a printed standalone document. During a budget downturn, the current state director of special education suggested printing it and bundling it with the special ed as a cost-saving measure, but also as a way to give the report sort of greater distribution to a larger audience, because at that point, I believe the special ed was going out to almost 52,000 people. So then another budget downturn right before the pandemic resulted in the decision to no longer print the newsletter, to make it available in digital form on the SIP website, and then to distribute in SIP, Supporting Inclusive Practices website, and then to distribute it by email. Your report, however, was printed that first year of the pandemic, although, as I understand it, not last year, since nobody was meeting in person anyway. This year, printing will resume thanks to the staff of the Special Education Division, and your report will again be available for you to share with interested parties, again, State Board of Education members, legislators, the governor, and so forth. It also is made available digitally through a PDF, and it will also be on the Supporting Inclusive Practices website. To the development process. You all work together to create your agendas for your meetings. I attend those meetings and take notes, paying as much attention to your comments and the discussion after presentations as I do to the presentations themselves. At the end of your meeting year in recent past, I've developed and proposed an outline, sent it to you all or all the commissioners for approval, and then drafted the report, frequently incorporating contributions from commissioners. This year, in your second working session, you'll be drafting that outline. I have sort of a summary of all the topics that you covered, but the purpose, as I understand it, of the second work group is for you to identify what's uppermost, what are the primary topics that you would really want focused and to be representative of your work. I'll continue to welcome contributions from any of you. So as you think about your work in the past year and as you talk with your colleagues in the second work group, working session, think about where you want your voice in particular. And so then I take your words from meetings, any writing you submit, and my notes and draft a narrative of your work for the year. I send it to Chairs Hayes White, who will write an introduction and conclusion. The conclusion is what we call looking forward, which captures the vision for the next year. I email it to you all as a first draft. I'll do that in July. And to that draft, I welcome suggestions, additions, changes. This is your report, and I can't emphasize that enough. After incorporating all of your feedback, I send it to you as a draft before the August meeting. On approval, we print the report, and you have it then for distribution at your October meeting and after. Any questions about that process?
Commissioner Lopez.
A comment only. I want to know where that tree is, because on that tree, I'm like on the top of that tree, pounding and yelling of excitement. You probably don't know what tree I'm talking about yesterday. Yes, I just love listening to you and hearing, and I'm excited and inspired. And so just thank you. Thank you this morning. I'm so glad we started off with you because I'm just excited to be part of this commission.
Well, I have to say, just personally, I can't tell you what a privilege it is to serve you. I never wake up in the morning wondering why I do what I do and what a gift that is in a profession. So a plug for the newsletter before I sit down, if I may, Havanya. I don't know if many of you are familiar, excuse me, with the California Master Plan for Special Education. It was written in the mid-'70s, so it might seem to be outdated. In fact, the only copy of it that's available online is in a microfiche form, so it's not even a searchable PDF. But I find it a most inspiring document, and it's still current today in terms of the vision that this state had for how it was planning to serve students and still planning to serve students with disabilities. And here's a quote from that master plan. "The child must be regarded not as a passive recipient of the instructional resources we offer and the educational system we administer, but as a unique individual whose curiosity and potential deserve the special attention of all of our combined adult energies." Thanks to the direction and vision of Director Calamise, I believe our next issue of the Special Ed captures every important part of that statement and how adult energies in the state are combining to enhance the potential and engage the curiosity of every student with disabilities. So thank you. Thank you, Heather, for your leadership. And I will be, the newsletter, I just got the most recent online version to approve this morning. I'm going to review it. So I'm hoping it's live next week, and I'll send you all a link. If you're not subscribers, you can be an e-subscriber, and it really is a reflection of the intention and the vision of the division, which I think is a powerful one and a worthy one. So with that, I think I'm done. No other questions?
Mary, that was wonderful. Any questions or comments for Mary before she sits back down, and she's going to be working with us too when we break out into groups? Any comments, questions for Mary?
Just want to thank you. It was really wonderful. And you just delivered it so eloquently. I could listen to you all day. Thank you.
Tell my children that, right? Okay, thank you.
Director Calamise.
My button. I just wanted to comment and thank you, Mary, for all that you have done and to support and partner with the California Department of Education and I think lift up students with disabilities across the state and looking forward to this next issue and future issues as well, and really appreciate all that you've done.
All right, commissioners. So here are the work group logistics. We are going to work offline and sit at the tables in the audience. We are going to break into 2 groups. Commissioner Adler has agreed to facilitate Group 1, which is green. Commissioner Topalian has agreed to facilitate Group 2, which is orange. If you have a green sticker, go to Group 1. If you have an orange sticker, go to Group 2. Once you are in your groups, please select a team presenter. This person will report group progress. Select a team recorder. This person will write notes for the group using the team recorder form. And the times that I'm about to say need to be adjusted, but you'll get the gist. From 10:45 to 11:45, groups will address topic 1. From 11:45 to 11:50, we will have a scheduled break. From 11:50 to 12:50, we will switch to topic 2. We're not switching groups, we're switching topics. From 12:50 to 1:30, we'll have a lunch break. From 1:30 to 2, we return back to the dais. Team presenters will share out work group progress live regarding topic 1. From 2 to 2:30, team presenters will share out work group progress regarding topic 2. Commissioners, here is your charge. Topic 1, strategic plan and legislative platform. As a group, please review our mission, our vision, our platform, and equity guidelines. Please become familiar with this platform as its purpose is to drive our work. Here are the essential questions. Through the lens of ACSE's equity legislative platforms, discuss what future topics and/or themes should be targeted for the upcoming 2022-23 meeting agendas. What should the year ahead look like? Topic number 2, ACSE's 2021-22 annual report. As a group, please review our past meeting agendas over the 2021-2022 school year. Here are the essential questions. What past topics, themes, and/or highlights should be addressed within our annual report? What do we want to say? What do we want to share with our appointing bodies? I know that was a lot. Commissioners, are there any clarifying questions at this time? Hearing none, we will now break at 10:23 to have our offline work group activities, and we will return back here at 1:30 to share work group progress. Thank you. I'll see you back here at 1:30. Hello, Commissioners. Welcome back. We had a lovely 2-topic work group session. And I would like to open up the floor for commissioners to share how the process was before we share out. So anybody would like to chime in? And yes, Commissioner Ruiz.
It was inspirational. It was wonderful. And it was really cool to get to know my fellow commissioners that intimately over stuff that we're so passionate about, especially Ms. Snipes being brand new. It was really, really neat to hear all the things that you had to share. And I think it was just super valuable. So I appreciate my leadership having this exercise for us. It was great.
I just want to second that. It was so valuable coming from such a small place in way Northern California. You know, our exposure is minimal, you know, unless we really seek it out. And I think that that's one thing that I'm going to be able to take back to my community is like all of the things that I'm learning here and hearing different perspectives and being able to share about things that matter. And also noticing that a lot of the concerns, it doesn't matter the size, it doesn't matter location, all of the concerns are similar.
Who else wants to share?
I'll just say I just want to thank my group members. We're all fairly new to this process, so we did the best we could, but you guys were great, and thank you very much.
I'm going to thank my group as well, because we had a very diverse group where we had a parent voice as, you know, parents, and then also educators and workability in that sense. And we all brought those expertise together to be able to, and of course, just trying to figure out what would be the best thing for us moving forward. So thank you, group members. You guys are awesome.
Anyone else? All right, hearing none, let's go right into the share out. So I'm going to remind the public what the essential questions were. Through the lens of ACSE's Equity Legislative Platform, discuss what future topics and/or themes should be targeted for the upcoming 2022-23 meeting agendas. Okay, who wants to go first? Green group or orange group?
Green group.
All right, green group, go ahead.
Okay, for our first topic, we came up with family engagement. So report from head of the new family engagement unit. So we understand that there's a new family engagement unit, and we just thought it'd be wonderful to collaborate with them and hear what's going on with them and have them come present to us, especially if they're new. Like we can just get that off the ground powerfully. Also the IEP work group, because we felt like that's so foundational to everything. Excuse me, transition from Part C to Part B. Have a representative from Parents Helping Parents and the parent centers, the FECs, and actually have a representative attend meetings. And then cultural representation, specifically tribal representation.
That was a good one.
We've got an insider. Okay, then our next topic was funding. And we noted the UPK 10%, but what is the expectation for inclusion, plan, and support? And the new grants that have been awarded, what is expectation for special education students to participate in these programs? And explanation of special education funding and dissemination. Then we went into MTSS and report on status of SUMS initiative, OCDE, and equity of access to support systems to improve student outcomes. And then we went to higher education / teacher education, having more emphasis on special education with teachers, with teacher education and educational programs, and examples of higher education programs incorporating special education. And we also, a couple of addendums to that were just some real challenges of rural and remote areas and districts, and bringing that up to the forefront. And we have, meeting Christine Mills, Youth Leadership and Youth Voice. Okay, that's our first one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Were you the green group?
Yes.
Thank you, green group. All right, orange group, you're up next for topic number 1.
Hey, I'll be presenting for topic number 1 for the orange team. We had a very rich discussion with multiple ideas and themes coming forward. And one of the things that it reminded us of is the power of us operating with one voice and coming together as an advisory team. And what is it that we want to, what do we want the outcome to be after this next year? And we landed on impact being one of those areas where we want to be able to measure that we made an impact, and relationships of trust. So those were the overarching themes as I go into some of the topics. One of these streams that we built on from this year that we wanted to see more of is the family empowerment centers, and really being able to see the change between the presentations that they gave us in this year and then the current statistics. What is different after a year in terms of access, equity? What does the future look like for our family empowerment centers? We'd like to know what resources are provided to families, specifically in the areas of mental health, and who are those agencies, those LEAs, stakeholders that should be collaborating with the family empowerment centers, and then how are families being informed and provided with the resources. So we'd like to look at some data as well as some stories of impact. The second bucket or theme for us is legislative engagement and advocacy. Again, building off of the power of us and one voice, looking at the history of ACSE and our ability to influence policy at the state level. We would like to build on relationships and increase our engagement with our legislative team, staff, provide information specifically on what is our role and how we can support in funding decisions. And that would be early on in the year when decisions are being negotiated so that we can have a real impact on those decisions. We would like to have targeted relationships that not only we seek out, but that our legislators seek out with us, and that we're seen as integral to the process of policy making and the arm of education to best represent the ACSE consumer and delivery system. The other area that we looked at was data collection and accountability. There are very valuable lessons that have been learned, but we have not been able to quantify them or measure them in a way to collect stories of success longitudinally. So we would like to be able to have that data and be informed of that data in the presentations, specifically around high school diploma rates, diplomas, alternative pathways, the long-term employment outcomes, work experience, high school access, access to CTE pathways, and any learning outcomes that will show whether inclusion model works for schools and districts in various areas of California. Those lessons learned are so valuable in terms of how we pivot, in terms of how we course correct, and how we celebrate our community. And then the final bucket that we were able to identify is training, preparation, and professional learning. And this is not only for our educators, but also for our community and for our parents, because we understand the impact of collective action for our students and collective responsibility to improve the systems that we have. We'd like to have training and preparation to understand LCAP funding across the modalities, teacher retention and recruitment of paraprofessionals as well, and looking at how to build capacity for the programs and services that are being proposed so that we can see these programs being actualized in the classroom. And that's the conclusion of my report. Thank you.
I am super encouraged about the work these groups have done. And please remember your themes and topics when we get to item 11 for our agenda building. And also, when we're done with this piece, please submit those forms to me so me and Vice Chair Adler can have them in our toolkit for 2022-23. All right, so anything else you guys want to share about topic 1 before we move on to topic 2? All right, so now we're going to move on to the share out for topic number 2, which is ACSE's 2021-2022 annual report. And here are the essential questions. What past topics, themes, and/or highlights should be addressed within our annual report? What do we want to say? What do we want to share with our appointing bodies? So who is going to share out for topic number 2, green group? Okay. Commissioner Ruiz.
All right. We started out with West Ed reports, including the funding, governance structure, IEP, and alternative pathway templates. Then we went to the statewide reports, a state accountability system, state performance targets, statewide system of support overview, state systemic improvement plan. And then we went into the social, emotional, and mental health, the SEL update from Sacramento County Office of Education in February, and then the same report, the SEL update from Sacramento County Office of Education in April. And that led us finally into the CDE reports, Director Calamisa's reports, Budget Department of Finance reports, Early Education Division, Commission on Teacher Credentialing, and then also ending with acknowledgement of all speakers, presenters, and assistants from CDE staff.
Thank you so much. All right. Orange Group, who is the presenter?
I'll be presenting. Okay. So we started with the Family Empowerment Center, and they were one of the first presenters of last year. And as you can see a little while ago, it also came up for something we wanted more information on in the coming year. But one of the things when we reviewed their slides was they talked about what wasn't working and some lessons learned already. So having them come back, it kind of goes back to what we were just talking about a minute ago. And then the second one, just kind of as what was just discussed, was the special education funding. And of course, the governor's budget hasn't been finalized yet, but just we're so appreciative of the budget updates and what is happening, so making sure those can continue. But we do request that that money is dispersed to ensure students with disabilities, that it's equitable with oversight and transparency and accountability, that remains a priority for us. Also, has stated the IEP template and alternative pathways to diploma, appreciating those work groups and the sharing of those materials, having a strength-based IEP and one template to use across the state benefits all stakeholders, especially we feel parents for that. And then mental health and SEL. LEAs are the hub for mental health resources, and so being aware of that, and work in collaboration with all the stakeholders around mental health, and how to serve the whole child is important.
And we added that we wanted to appreciate Brent Mallicott, hope I said his name correctly, for his presentation. And all the speakers was quite a lot of great information for us to continue our journey. Thank you.
All right, Commissioners, any other comments at this time? I am pleased about the work we have done together. Commissioners, please don't forget to take a picture for our annual report before we leave the building, okay? Let's see. Are there any public comments at this time? Let's put the slide up.
There's none at this time.
All right, thank you. Hearing none, we are now going to be moving into item number 10. Committee updates and reports. So we will now hear from our ad hoc mental health committee co-chair, Commissioner Topalian, as she shares an update regarding the mental health committee progress. I now pass the mic to you, Commissioner Topalian.
Thank you, Commissioner Hayes-White. So we met again this morning, and what we discussed was we wanted to make sure that we have intentional goals for next year where we lay the foundation of our work. We've been meeting and discussing different things, but we want to make sure that it's meaningful and we're able to move towards a common goal. Using the logic model to map out our goals and objectives for the year to come and what that would look like. So we've begun the conversations of the proposal to propose our goals and how we would support our students with all students with mental health, but specifically students with special needs as well. So we have presentations in mind, again, just overall what that would look like, and we would use a logic model, which we'll discuss in meetings to come, of what that could possibly be and how we could collaborate with other agencies and school systems and communities and work together to be able to be on the same page and coexist was the main goal.
Anybody else wants to share who was in the meeting and want to contribute to that, add to that?
Just want to highlight, I felt it was very beneficial to us. I felt the message we were getting was we take on a lot of topics, but to keep them like uniform. And this logic model is going to provide that structure, that we just take that to all of the different things that we're discussing. And so there's like some continuity and uniformity. And then the other big word was, as Commissioner Topalian said, was the intentionality, that we really, really want to get something done and have an impact. And Dr. Hayes-White mentioned, losing my train of thought, to have a specific project and have it done. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you so much. Anybody else would like to make a comment?
Could I just add one?
Please.
I mean, we could see the passion, we know the passion, the funding is out there as well, and we want to take the opportunity to be able to advise and support in school districts because a lot of them do not know what to do with this money, and we want to make sure that it's long lasting. And I mean, one of the things that I know I struggle as a practitioner is that, is this money going to be there tomorrow? And what will that look like? And I could see how school districts are also combating that in them. And what would that look like? And are we going to be able to retain the workforce? Are we not going to be able to retain the workforce? And as a professional, you know, that's one of the concerns we see too in the field. If you hire me, what's that going to look like? So I just think that everything that we discussed today, even with moving forward as the general committee and our goals, it just needs to be tied in together where we are able to focus on, of course, student outcomes and student-centered outcomes and how we support them and get the education piece to the parents, because we want services and supports. It shouldn't be adversarial. It shouldn't be fighting for the same territory of how we work together to coexist. So.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Topalian, for all your hard work with the subcommittee, and I am excited about the year ahead. Are there any further questions or comments at this time, commissioners? Hearing none from the commissioners, Michelle and Venetia, are there any public commenters at this time?
We've lost our link. He's trying to fix it for us.
Okay. I see the slide up.
There's no callers on it. He said he can see it from where he was.
All right. Hearing none, we are now going to move into item number 11, agenda building. Commissioners, are there any suggestions for potential agenda items for our August meeting and beyond? I open up the floor to you, commissioners. Commissioner Topalian.
I'm wondering, in the past, we used to have a full day on Wednesday, if that would be something that we could reconsider, and having a full day and doing more of a half-day working group. And I understand it's a lot to take in person as well, because it was during Zoom, but just having that opportunity to be able to do that one full day instead of just stopping at an earlier time would be my suggestion.
I like that. Commissioner Lopez, I see you want to say something.
Well, I mean, I thought the same thing, and maybe even putting in there maybe a working lunch, or if we wanted to have something brought in so we can have good conversation. Maybe we need to go out, but it's just a thought, putting it out there.
Commissioner Adler.
Thank you. I'd like to request for August a report, I suppose, on the major grants that have just been released, the Community Schools Grant, the Learning Communities for Student Success, the ELOP grant, to understand what the expectations for students with disabilities are as those grants are being implemented.
Commissioner Topalian.
And also along the same lines, update on educational and mental health initiatives out there that we could get an update about.
Commissioner Gill.
I'd like to put a request in to get information and statistics data on our students that are in the juvenile justice incarceration system. How has the return to post-pandemic life impacted them? I'd like to see some data sets and where the cracks are being created.
And I would like to put on the record that we have a commissioner orientation for day 2, and break up into groups like we did, and have some type of work group opportunity to understand our roles and responsibilities and all that jazz. Commissioner Topalian.
You got me now. So one of the concerns, I mean, we want to make sure we have quorum and we continue to have that. In August, I know a lot of, changes are happening in the sense that school districts were starting, and it's the first week. And also just wondering if that would be a possibility to look at maybe September as being changing the date, if that would be possible, instead of meeting in August, between the school board meetings, July and September.
Well, we also have to remember that this room is typically occupied by the state board, so I don't know what that schedule looks like. So we're usually off. When they're on, we're off, and when they're on, When, you know what I'm saying. Any other agenda items that you want to put on the record, commissioners? All right, I am hearing none. Michelle and Venetia, are there any public commenters at this time? Do they want to input?
We don't have any at this time.
All right, hearing no further comments, we are now going to move into item number 12, general public comment. At this time, the public is invited to make comments on any matter, including items not on the agenda. Commissioners are precluded from discussing matters not on the agenda. However, questions may be asked by commissioners for clarification purposes. The commission would like to acknowledge receipt of all public comments submitted via email. Issues raised by the public may be referred to a future meeting agenda item. Public comments are limited to 2 minutes today. Michelle and Venetia, are there any public commenters at this time?
We have none.
All right. Commissioners, I see no further business. Please, let's take a picture before we exit the building. I now adjourn our Day 2, June 22nd, 2022 meeting at 1:56 p.m. I hope to see everyone in August. Have a good evening.